today we are doing Survivor Series 1990.
Oh, Roddy Piper likes talking about Thanksgiving, doesn't he? You kind of prepared me for the Gulf War stuff, but good God, he just will not stop talking about drumsticks.
No.
Fucking hell, Roddy.
I mean, Gorilla and Piper in this, they aren't commentating so much as just yelling at one another. Piper is, I think he's sort of gone, I don't do many of these, so I'm going to get myself into the mood beforehand by having 2 or 3 grams of cocaine. And then that'll power me through until the end when I can have lots more. It starts with that big voiceover by Vince McMahon. And I mean, you're not allowed to say you like it anymore, are you?
Can't say anything now, dude.
You can't say anything now. You say you like Vince McMahon's intro on Survivor Series 1990, they'll put you in prison. It is good. He is very sort of like ramped up and excited.
It's the Survivor Series! World Wrestling Federation Champion, the Ultimate Warrior, and Mr. Perfect, lead team members, Texas Tornado, Crush, along with Animal, Axe, Hawk, Smash. It's the Warriors versus the Perfect Team.
And they have loads of photos come in. My favourite one is of Demolition, the tag team. They are wearing all over black kink masks that are studded. So it slightly suggests you sort of go, have you got a photo? And you go, I've only got some personal ones. And you go, well, we're going to need to have one. You just go, it's just me in this.
just wear what you're wearing.
This throws me back so much to when I was really, really mad into wrestling. Wrestling was the most magical thing I'd ever seen. It was so far away from anything that I'd, had access to up to this point. I felt like a big grown-up man because finally there was a sport I liked. I thought to myself, this is wonderful that I've managed to crack the code to be interested in sport. So what you would have been about 7 or 8. What were you really into in 1990?
What was I really into? Just computers. Amstrad CPC 6128s, Jet Set Willie. Nice. Big Jet Set Willie guy.
I seem to remember like the cassette cover because I had a Commodore 64. I seem to remember the cassette cover was someone vomiting into a toilet.
Vomiting into a toilet.
That is...
It's so... Imagine that these days. Like, imagine like the PR team going, well, we're not doing that. We're just not doing that. It's horrible.
He's a social worker who's made himself rich on handouts from the government. Amazing. So this is the first time they make this very clear that it's going to be broadcast on the Armed Forces Network as well.
Right,
WWF goes square bashing. And Roddy Piper does a good bit where he starts on Saddam Hussein. And I like the fact that it's not Gorilla doing it because Gorilla represents the company. And the company have to hedge their bets. If America loses this war, they don't want to alienate the new leaders. So they give it to Roddy as a wild man. And he starts going, Saddam Hussein, you're going to have to pay double. You're going to be paying through the nose. Going, And I was thinking, what is the thing he's trying to do about Saddam Hussein?
No.
And all I could think was, he's just said the word nose, and so he's like, I'll do a cocaine thing. I'm sure it's a snarfy Hoover move.
Well, he starts that speech by Gorilla wants to talk about the gobbledygooker, or he wants to talk about the big egg that's just outside the ring.
He refers to as a Brontosaurus Rex egg.
And Roddy goes, yeah, big enough to feed an army. Anyway, I want to talk about Saddam Hussein. And he could not move away from the fucking egg quickly enough. I'd never heard the phrase taking powder, which is supposed to be like
taking a break.
Taking a break, yeah. So like Roddy at one point he goes, I see Mr. Perfect taking a little powder there.
I mean, the 3 things they continually cannot stop mentioning. Thanksgiving is particularly the food of Thanksgiving. The army, particularly we're going to kick your ass. And references which all seem to come back to a single drug, which is cocaine, which Piper is very clearly on. It's a weird thing, though, that you sort of go in and you go, I do want to convey to people that are in the know that I am on cocaine. I think that's a very important thing that I do. I wouldn't want them not to know. It's really strange.
Give me a towel. I'm dying. Hot Rod. And I haven't done nothing. These guys are great. Royal Rumble. These guys are here as a team to survive. In the Royal Rumble, it's every dog face for himself. Every man for himself. No friends, Hot Rod. Only foes. Whoa. Are you going to survive? That's the question. I'm trying.
We have our first match, which is the Warriors. A lot of thought went into that one. The Ultimate Warrior, the Legion of Doom, and the Intercontinental Champion Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, versus the Perfect Team, Mr. Perfect with Bobby Heenan, and the three guys of Demolition, Axe, Smash, and Crush with Mr. Fuji. A little thing, Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado, he is in the Warriors. His nickname throughout the 80s was the Modern Day Warrior. So it was almost like someone was harking back to that earlier time, a little Easter egg for the true heads there, which is nice. How did you find this? Did you go, this is the absolute distillation of everything that 90s wrestling is about?
It was just some hard fucking smashing. Warrior going to run out to the ring. The problem being, you come out of the curtains and you got to take a sharp left very quickly, and Warrior has to do like a little tippy tappy feet as he comes out the curtain so he doesn't overshoot, and it was just a very standard match from this era, really. Nothing particularly memorable. It just nice to see everyone having a nice time, doing some hard hits and just doing their thing, really.
I mean, from the off, I was really keen on it because out comes Axe from Demolition, and Axe is being phased out, and he's done that classic thing that Big Show does, which is when you know things are coming to an end, he just goes, I'm just going to let my hair grow out. I'm not going to cut my hair anymore. And he comes out looking a bit shaggy and a bit fat. The reason that they'd put in Crush as the third man, the reason for that was Axe had been doing a lot of tours of Japan. He'd been working since the 70s as Masked Superstar, and he was a big headliner for the WWF earlier on in that decade. And then he went to Japan a lot. And one of the things he did in Japan, when he'd get there, he'd eat a lot of seafood. I mean, a huge amount. And basically, he had what seemed to be a heart attack when he was back in America, and he ate some shrimp, and he went to see the doctor, and this is what Axe said, and I don't know if this is medically correct, but he said he'd eaten so much seafood that he was full of iodine, and he ate another bit of shrimp, and it just put him over the edge on his iodine levels.
Iodine levels, right, okay. I'm not sure that's particularly scientifically accurate, but it could be mercury poisoning, I guess.
I thought it was probably that, and he was actually going bananas. And if you get mercury poisoning, of course, it does affect your brain, and you might come out and they go, you've got mercury poisoning. Can you repeat that for me? And he goes, yes, I've got too much iodine in my system. And you go, yeah, it's definitely mercury poisoning.
Mercury poisoning.
But because he'd had this sort of health scare, Vince McMahon was very much like, I do not really want you in the ring. So they bring in Crush to replace him. This happens at a terrible time for Vince McMahon because he's just brought the Legion of Doom in, and their natural dream match is with Demolition. And suddenly you've got Axe going, I can't do it anymore. And you just go, mate, just paid £2 million for the people that you were going to fight. So they bring in Crush so they can still have this. It waters it down immediately. Axe and Smash both have said over the years as well, this failed the Legion of Doom sort of dream match. They just didn't gel as a team. There was a sense that to a lot of people, the Demolition were the original painted guys, and here are these new ones coming in. And so it was just a sort of odd thing that no one could have seen coming, that it just didn't quite gel or work. What is funny about this match is Axe, who is the man who they go, he's going to die, let's get rid of him. Axe and Smash are the only two people who are still alive. They are still going. And Axe and Smash, they didn't get on by this stage. And so after this match, they didn't see each other for another 17 years. And then they finally got back together again.
Oh,
I know. Sad, huh?
That's sad, isn't it?
Very sad.
Well, that lost time.
Yeah. Over on the other team, we got Kerry Von Erich, who is, at this point, dressed identically to the Ultimate Warrior, apart from the face paint. And it slightly talks about they lost their way a bit with the Warrior. He looked iconic for so many years, and then he began sort of going, I'm going to put less on, I'm going to have a bouffant hair, I'm going to wear lots of, and it's just like you and Kerry Von Erich have met in the middle there. Kerry needs to step back to being what he was before. You need to step back to being what you were before, because otherwise what happens is you all look the same and a bit generic. Kerry Von Erich, by this point, he comes out with the Intercontinental belt, but he'd actually lost it 4 days before to Mr. Perfect. They hadn't yet put that out on television, so they actually sort of went, oh, well, that won't be going out until after the Survivor Series. So even though you've lost it, we'll just pretend you haven't. So he wears the belt, even though he'd lost it. He would then have a load of house show matches as the champion where he'd beat Mr. Perfect, and that would carry on until it went out on television. I mean, no respect for the belt. Absolutely no respect. I really did enjoy this. I mean, the Ultimate Warriors, there is a team that knew how to take drugs in the 90s. When they do their little sort of speech bit at the start, Animal begins talking about how they are marketed to kids. And he starts going, we're going to do this for all the little warriors, all the little tornadoes, and all the little doomers. He said, and I was just like, have all the men that you shouldn't go kids look up to these ones. These guys are just like bouncers. You know,
yeah, all the little doomers. The Russian court,
the Russian Parliament.
Parliament.
Yeah, we are specifically appealing to the Russian Parliament. I mean, Warrior is terrible. He's terrible in all of these interviews. He's so bad. And
well, people start talking over him because it's just kind of like, oh, he's just
he goes on too long. The other thing he's really bad at is he continually blocks other people in his interviews.
Yeah,
he walks around and then he does it with Tito Santana later. He does it with the Texas Tornado here. He starts drifting over and then he's just like, I'm going to stand right in front of you. I'm going to take all of that TV camera and I'm going to have the whole thing. And he's such a hog and he's such a big, awful baby. You get some great stuff in this match and it's really all down to... Mr. Perfect's really good in this, Pete. He's great. There's a bit where before they start where they do a shot just of Crush in the ring, and Crush has got a look on his face like, "Oh, this is going to be a long night, isn't it? This is going to hurt, and this isn't going to be fun." And actually, what happens is Mr. Perfect just goes in there and he takes everything that anyone can dish out, and he just one of the great bumpers in the wrestling business. And this match, he just excels himself. He works so hard. There's a lovely bit where he has a face-off with Hawk, and there was a funny thing that Hawk and Animal were one of the very few tag teams where they sort of went, if these guys were singles wrestlers, they would probably be the world champion. And so when these tag teams come up against the single stars like Mr. Perfect, they go, Hawk, dominate him entirely because you are genuinely frightening. And Hawk does this bit so well. His moves are great and he's like a really terrifying babyface. And that is a really, really lovely sort of bit of work. He'd done it his whole career. But doing it against Perfect, you really go, gosh, there was always the thing about would they ever have runs as singles champions, Hawk and Animal. Yeah. They had in the sort of mid-80s, Hawk had some Great American Bash main events taking on Ric Flair where he'd dominate him but then lose by DQ or, Flair would cheat to win. But watching that bit in the Survivor Series, you really go, they are an amazing tag team. And you suddenly realise that even on their own, at this time, they could have been absolutely monster huge draws. Just exciting to see. Their WWF career, which started post WrestleMania 6, so had started probably 4 months before. Back then, things went so slowly. So it would take them another nearly a year to win the WWF tag team titles. They'd win those from the Nasty Boys at SummerSlam 91. And the ridiculous part about that is they lost all of their heat. They should have put the belts on them from the word go and just made them huge. And they did have a disappointing WWF career, which they never really recovered from. They never had the same atmosphere about them as draws after this year and a bit. Very sad. We also wanted to see them beat Demolition conclusively. And again, with this, we're a few months into this feud and they are going to a double disqualification where they both hit the referee and stuff like that. And their failure really to go, here is the pay-per-view, here is the match you want to see versus Demolition, and here is a conclusive win, added to that sense of just going, this isn't clicking in the way that everybody wanted it to. You get this big disqualification axes out very quickly because of the Warrior. And it ends up being Mr. Perfect versus the Ultimate Warrior and the Texas Tornado. Not really how you book fan favourites. You don't go, the last bit is one bad guy versus two good guys. Because that is bullying, isn't it? That's, not the way to do it. But what you do get is you get Mr. Perfect just bumping around. And that he makes it an art. And you could just watch hours and hours of it. There's a bit where Bobby Heenan's outside and Warrior just goes for him. He grabs him and he chucks him over the barricade as hard as he can. Nobody would legitimately hurt Bobby Heenan more than the Ultimate Warrior. Heenan hated the Warrior. They'd done a series of matches in 88. He would always bring his men like Rick Rude to fight the Warrior. But every time the Warrior would touch him, he would legitimately hurt Bobby Heenan. And in this, you can see panic in Heenan's eyes every time Warrior runs over to him and just launches an attack on him. When Hogan did it, he would do a sort of I'm going to do a punch, and Heenan would get himself ready. When the Warrior did it, Heenan would often be looking the other way, and Warrior would just clatter into him. Just horrifying. He's got a tracksuit jacket on as well that says Brain on the back.
Black and red,
and sort of little white and red letters on black. And Pete, what happened to all these?
Where are they?